Oh, people, it's planned now. That's it. We're going forward. We are going forward, and we will explain.
Yes, we
Oh,
will.
man. All right. This is take number 400, people. Welcome.
Feels that way.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that. And I will explain. But welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of Talking Reacher. This is a Reacher dedicated show from the Amazon show. There we go. Amazon Prime show based off of the Lee Child novels. So if you are a fan of the Reacher show or Lee Child novels, then please subscribe, put comments, because that's what this is all about. We're just covering the show. We're going to dive in. We're going to discuss, review. I mean, there's so many great points in the show. And myself, which I should introduce myself. I'm Adam Vale, senior editor over at the Coalition.
And I am Lawrence, aka a punk with toys, and we're going to be talking Reacher season 3.
See, I'm telling you, people, we had all kinds of hiccups. At first, we were like, yeah, we got this. Everything was working. And then it just started one after another. So we're like, you know what? It's the first episode. We're getting all the kinks out now. And it'll be smooth sailing from this point on. So there, right there, all smooth sailing. So again, thank you. Whether you're watching over on YouTube, over on the Coalition's channel, right, looking up Talking Reacher, or if you're on Spotify, look up Talking Reacher, and you can follow us there if you're into the audio format. But yeah, this is it. So we're all into. Also, heads up, we are spoiling this episode, which I hope you guys watched. As you know, as we know, they dropped 3 episodes on day 1. So we are covering each one separately. So if you've only watched episode 1, no problem. That's what this one is. All right. Then we'll follow up with 2 and 3. So no spoilers. You won't have to worry about it, because that's a problem with a lot of these shows that drop multiple episodes on day 1. It's a lot to cover, so then people just combine it all, and you don't want to get spoiled, especially if you didn't watch all the episodes that dropped at that time. Recently, over on our channel over here, we covered Invincible, and that did the same type of deal. You know, Amazon Prime show, it dropped a few episodes, and so our team went across and had to cover all that in a video. But here, we're covering one by one. So as you see in the title, this is season 3, episode 1, Persuader. Now, this is based off of the 7th Lee Child Reacher novel. So if you're into that, where you read the novels and trying to figure out which one it's, that's this one. This is number 7. We're not going to be doing that comparison. So we're just covering the show. Yeah, there's some little things here and there, but this is just a show. And then also, if you haven't watched season 1 and 2 and are thinking about watching this and just jumping in 3, feel free to do so. They're not linked that way. They're each child novel, it's following Reacher and his adventures and all this craziness, but they're all separate. You don't have to have seen or read the prior novels, and the same goes with the show. You didn't have to see all of season 1 and 2 to just figure out what's happening in 3, because they're separate. Besides, I mean, the main returning character in all this is Jack Reacher, so that's all you need to worry about.
But let's be honest, there wouldn't be a season 3 if 1 and 2 weren't.
Awesome. Oh yeah, they were badass.
So, yeah, if you haven't watched them, watch this here. Hit a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and make sure you go watch all the episodes, because I think you're going to enjoy it. I mean, if you like action, big burly guys that just
throwback action. That's the thing. Yeah. This brings you back to the older days of just like, I could easily have seen Arnold or Sylvester Stallone playing this role. Yeah. Or even Vin Diesel. I could have seen Vin Diesel just say,
after seeing The Pacifier.
Now that I think about it, I take that back. Can't edit that out now. Screw that one up too. I would definitely not, because the thing with Jack Reacher, he's smart. I like to tell people, he's like a combination of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sherlock Holmes, because he just figures everything out. He walks into a room and they're like, oh, it's a crime scene. I don't know what happened. I know exactly what happened. He came through the window. He dropped the shell case over here. He had a size 6 foot. How do you know? Well, I could see the imprint from the glass stains, and I could see the tracks in his shoes. I think he was wearing Timberlands. I mean, he just does the whole shebang.
And from my understanding, unlike the Reacher movies, which I do like with Tom Cruise, This is more like what he's supposed to be, a big, strong guy. Where Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise. I love Tom Cruise movies, but he's a smaller guy that, I mean, you feel like he can kick ass because the guy has an amazing running style, which is not amazing, but
he loves to run. He loves
yes.
to run. He's got montage, and the last one just sprinting across whatever Italy, whatever it was. He was just running.
But this, I guess, from what I understand, the actor Alan, how do you say his last name?
Rickson. I think, yeah, okay. Rickson.
He's supposed to be more like what the actual book is, and that's great. He's a perfect actor for this. Perfect actor.
Yeah, he's a presence. 6'3", massive shoulders.
And not even the biggest guy in the show.
No, he is.
Yeah, no spoilers. We've already watched it.
That's exactly. You guys already watched. In fact, let's just dive into it. Here we go. Boom. Opening scene. Reacher gets out of a van carrying records. Why? Who cares? Because we're gonna find out. He goes into a record store. There's some people there. They're like, "Oh yeah, we're talking about some records and what are you selling?" And I forgot the artist.
We're talking about what is the best water song.
Yes. Right? Yeah, I think that's what it was. And then he gave a long description rundown of which song was the best. And then he explained they were cracking jokes on the records that he was bringing in for sale. And he said some hipster would want to buy it because then they would make it seem like they were a know-it-all and that whole thing. Tries to justify it.
Yeah, they're in a college town.
College town.
Completely dead in the streets.
Completely dead. Probably what? It looked like noon, right? It was, we hear commotion out in the street. Car comes, rams into another car, right? There's two people in the vehicle. Guy jumps out. He runs over. He seduced the driver, and then it looks like he's reaching to grab the passenger, which we know as Robert. He's the kid, right? Yeah. So Reacher runs out, sees all this, takes that guy down, right? Then he grabs the kid and says, "Come on, you're coming with me." Kid's already like, "What the hell's going on now?" I don't know if I was watching this in the street. That's the other thing. Like, I don't want to jump too far ahead of it, but the guys at the record store, you would think somebody at that point would be dialing 911.
Yeah, they're on the college town and they talk about it. So, the other thing is, Reacher has, he notices something's going wrong. And again, just like I said before, when I say before, I meant one of the episodes we tried filming and we didn't make it. Yeah. He's like the 70s Incredible Hulk. The guy can't walk through a town and not get in trouble. He notices that there's something that's about to happen. And, when this pickup truck rams into this car, you could tell this kid is pretty important. He pins him, shoots at the driver, kills the driver. But, Reacher is there with a revolver for no reason. Just a big revolver.
Just shows
up. Again, it all gets explained later on.
Oh, yeah.
But he kills the kidnapper, gets the kid out, and he has to get him into his van. Should have been a white van, let's be honest. It should have been a white van.
Even better, right? It's like, somebody would definitely call that, and he's getting kidnapped. Oh my God. A linebacker from New England Patriots just came out of nowhere and just took a kid. Oh my God.
But he convinces the kid to get in there because around the corner, a guy comes and Reacher shoots him. And when he falls down, you see it's a badge, and he just killed the cop. So in the first 5 minutes, Reacher's just killed the cop.
Yeah. It's wild because then he pulls him in, and he was like, "All right, we got to go." And then another car shows up. He starts shooting at that one. He hits the radiator. That car crashes onto the side. He gets in the car. He's like, "All right, we're leaving." The kid is panicking. There's another car that's chasing him. But then I took another from watching. I remembered that was the campus police. The campus police. He bangs that one off the road. Then he's like, all right, he tells the guy, the kid, all right, I think we clear. Now we got to find another vehicle. So then he goes into another parking lot. He starts jamming into a car. He's like, all right, I'm leaving. You can go find your own way. And the kid was like, I can't be alone. I can't do this. These guys might come after me, and my family's rich. And he gives that whole thing.
Yeah, the kid's trying to explain, like, my dad would do whatever. He's rich. He'll pay you. And he's like, I need to lay low for a bit. It's kind of like Anchorman when Brick kills the guy with the trident. He's like, you should lay low for a bit.
Yeah, no.
And the kid convinces him, hey, just take me home. My dad will do whatever, whatever it takes. So he kind of agrees. He steals this car, and off they go to this kid's
Well,
estate.
yeah, that was another thing. So he's like, all right, we're gonna go. My family's rich, right? He said generational wealth, right? Because that was the whole thing. So just a little with the rundown with it, because this is the main plot. It's like his dad, Zachary Beck, is a rug importer, right? Rugs, right? He imports rugs. This is not the first kidnapping attempt that Robert has been involved in. There was a prior one, and they cut off an ear. It's like, okay.
Yeah, and sent it back to his dad. And the son explains it. He goes, I think it was 5 days he was gone, and they cut off the ear and sent it to his dad. That's when his dad, I think, paid the ransom.
He paid the ransom. So the kid's gone through some stuff already. Like that's a wild story. So he says, hey, listen, you're taking me to the compound, which you had just mentioned. It's a huge place. It's surrounded by water. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful mansion. If it is a real location, it was a beautiful location. But so they get there, and then we're introduced to Paulie. Holy! What, you looked it up? He 7'2".
7'2". What was his nickname is? Oh, let's see how slow the internet can go here. His nickname is the Dutch Giant. I'm assuming he's Dutch.
That's a good assumption. Yep. So he's working at the entry booth there for this compound, and so he sees that Robert's there, and he sees this guy, and he tells him to get out. He wants to search him, and then that's when you see them side by side, because Richard's a massive guy, and so to see this hulking of a man tower over him as if Reacher is a normal size,
so I can't speak for you. You can see how big this guy is, right? And I don't know who he is, so maybe someone's like, I already know how big he is. But when I see how big he is, I'm thinking when Reacher gets out of the car, he's going to be like the same size. Mm-hmm. But when he gets out, he's looking at, and the first thing I was thinking like, is he standing on the curb? You kind of find out he's 11 inches taller than.
It's wild.
Alan Richardson.
Yeah.
So he's 11 inches taller than Reacher, and they kind of have a back and forth. Reacher doesn't like his attitude. Basically says, no, I'm not going to get out. He didn't ask nicely. And the kid, his name's Richard Beck, he finally gets out. He hands him his gun because it's in the glove box, and he's like, why are there no bullets? And he says, why are there any bullets? I shot all the bullets.
Exactly. He's like, and he says it with a straight face. I think that's the other thing that people need to understand. It's not so much of just the lines, is that he does it with a straight face. It's how he delivers these lines. He's not delivering it like with a comedy smirk type of vibe. It's like serious. Like, no, this is what happened. Yeah. I used all the bullets. I killed some people.
The moment you just said that, like, the more just quickly going through my head, like, the way he acts out, like, the comedic lines usually aren't in like a funny guy telling it. It's in a serious straight face, and I think that's what works, because he's saying it in like a straight face where it's not supposed to be taken serious, and I think it just works.
Yeah. Because then it's also has you thinking, it's like, well, maybe he's not even trying to be funny. He's just pointing out the facts. Where all the bullets? I used them all. I shot them all. That's it. I just killed some people.
And it's a revolver, so you have 6 shots, you're done. Mm-hmm. So
he's like, all right, well, go on in. The father, Zachary, is expecting them. They go into the kitchen area. You see some other family members there. They're having a meal. There's another guy that we talked about. Was it Chapman Duke?
Chapman Duke. He's head of security.
Head of security. We don't get too much with him in this episode, but I'm sure he'll play a major part. He's there. He doesn't partake in the meal. He says that he's going out to go do something else.
But you can tell he's the one directing a lot. They say he's the head of security, but he's the one that directs everything. Says, no, you're not doing this. No, you're not doing that. But then he goes to eat out, and he asks why, and he says, I don't know, that's why he wanted to. Something like that, which I wonder is going to play back later on.
Well, I think when we get to the ending, because I think that's what it was. I think he was the whole reason that this episode, and the reason why Reacher's even here. I think it all linked up to him. Because Paulie, yeah, as much as he's a big, massive, towering figure, he's the muscle. He's
Yeah,
not there for the brains. He's there for the size. So now we
yeah.
were introduced to the muscle and the head of security, and now we're introduced to Zachary, who's played by Anthony Michael Hall. We all know him: Breakfast Club, Blacklist, Bosch Legends. He's been around.
A total like he's had a renaissance career.
Mm-hmm.
It really rejuvenated later on because he was one of those people that just disappeared. But when he came back, he was unrecognizable,
Oh yeah.
and not because of like plastic surgery. Just he aged. He filled out.
He definitely filled out. And plus, you got to think, most of us know him from when he was a kid. Weird Science stuff. We know him as that like goofy, nerdy kid. Like,
Weird Science.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like we loved him for it. And so when you see him disappear and I'm sure he was doing other projects, but nothing on that scale that we would see him. And then he starts getting into these other popular shows. And you're like, wait, who is that? So we can't poo-poo it. I mean, it's part of life. People change stuff. But yeah.
Oh, I know I did.
Exactly. He's a different person, but whatever. He's still a great actor. And
yeah.
And so he's here. He plays the villain. All right. Well, we're gonna just call him the villain. So this is another memorable moment of this episode: Russian roulette. So.
Oh no! Well, before that, because they go into his room or they go into his office, and there's just an arsenal of weapons hung on the wall.
Oh yes. Yes.
So and they're all behind glass. So that's going to play into.
It's like even that scenery. I'm sure this is all done to maybe try to intimidate. Yeah, that's it. But to intimidate, because later on they move him into another room, right? Oh wait, my bad. You're right. See, I got it. Yeah, there you go. I have the notes. The first one was in the office. Yes, they have the meeting quickly just to say, hey, tell me about yourself. Reacher tells him about himself. He says, have a seat, doesn't want to sit. Gives him a glass of something to drink. He takes a sip. He puts it. Even says, "Yeah, I know what you're doing. I grabbed a nice big palm grip so you could do my fingerprints."
Grabs the glass like this, and he just grabs it, puts it down, and goes, "That should get you a good set of fingerprints," because he knows exactly what he's going to do. And they
he does the typical one. If you've watched all other season 1 and 2, then you already know. People always ask him same thing: where do you live? I don't live anywhere. What do you do for work? I don't work. And for those who don't know, former military MP, major head of the 110 investigation unit, and he walked away from it. He retired, and he made his life goal of just traveling around like a drifter, going to different places in the United States. Carries very little with him. He didn't even have a cell phone. If he does need to reach out to friends and stuff, he'll use a burner or something like that to call him.
Yeah, and Zachary Beck, he doesn't seem to believe that selling records it can support his lifestyle.
Yeah.
Probably because he's like, dude, you eat a lot of protein.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the other thing. I was like, look at you. You definitely have a Gold's Gym membership somewhere. You know what I mean? I lift things up. I put them down. You know what I mean?
I don't think the motel that he's staying in has a real good gym. I'll just say that.
Yeah. No. And so there's some disbelief with all that because, if you are a drifter, I mean, like you said, you got to be near a gym all the time. But whatever. Yeah, whatever. He's there. So he's like, all right, well, go over there. We'll show you to your room area and then you can deal with it.
But as he's walking out, the head of security is trying to escort him. And he's like, I want to go talk to the kid. I want to see how he's doing. He's doing fine. He's like, I want to talk to him. And he walks in there and he's painting. So now you realize like this kid has this idea, this affection for painting.
Yeah.
And he tells him, you missed the security. He mentions that he misses the security booth, and he said, "No, I didn't." Which I think, again, foreshadowing something, in my opinion.
Well, he says that from that view, he only sees the water, the ocean, the whole thing, and that's all he ever paints. Which I also find weird. I'm like, yo, we just met you at a college. You're somewhere, so don't give me this whole thing of like you're locked into the room, like like flowers in the attic or something like that. Come on now, we know.
Oh man, you didn't like those flowers in the attic.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, come on now, we know you're doing. So it was very awkward to see that. Even that scene, like I was expecting to see him just, I don't know, looking out the window, daydream, like I can't believe this is happening to me again. Yeah. But no, he's pulling a Bob Ross and like, oh yeah, look at the water. Oh, this is good. Or whatever. It was kind of weird. But then it was not even 2 minutes, right? And
no. Rachel talks to him for a bit, but we also find out that his mom died when he was
Oh
very young.
yes.
That
Yep.
she's in the cemetery. So now we know there's no mom in the picture, or at least we believe there's no mom in the picture.
Yeah. No mom in the picture. Dad's around, but then dad's not really there because that was the other thing. He was like, "Oh, has your dad checked up?" No, he will eventually. It's like he hasn't even talked to you about all this. Well, I mean, we know this much because as soon as they walked in at that first scene, it was just straight reach her to the office.
Yep.
It wasn't like, all right, let me go see my son. Dad didn't show any of that type of emotion, none of those things. So there's definitely some issues there, So anyway,
But it just depends on how often your kid gets kidnapped. You might be like, just another week.
right? I guess like that's a thing. He doesn't run over. So
last week Jason Bourne saved them. Now it's Reacher.
right, exactly. He just so happened to be there. But the other amazing part is that Zachary has some people on the inside because he was able to get these fingerprints analyzed within minutes. And Rich even points it out because as a viewer, as ourselves, we're like, there's no way. And he says, how'd you get it this fast?
But anyway, and he's taking like the barn.
Yeah, he takes him out to the barn. This is where it looks like it's going to be the real questioning here, and things could get messy, which is why it's not done in the house, sitting in a chair across from each other in front of a table. And this is where Zachary says, hey, I need to test you out, because as you know, I already lost a person I'm looking to hire. You killed a cop. So you're really a bad situation anyway. It's like, what if I don't want to do any of this stuff? Like, well, then we'll just give you up to the police. What other option do you have? And he's like, all right, whatever. And they're like, well, we have to test you. So then they put his gun that he came in with the revolver, and then they put one bullet. What are we going to do with this? And then Paulie over there, says, well, you're Russian roulette. What's stopping me from putting a bullet across the table into your head, Zachary? And he's like, oh, well, then that's where the head of security was behind him, right? And pointed the gun, and he's like, well, then we'll just take you out, and then it's over. And I whenever I see those type of scenes, I'm like, that still doesn't solve anything, because if, let's say, he does decide to kill him, well, then who's going to pay you? Your boss just died. Go ahead, kill me, but there's no reimbursement for that. You're not going to get a bonus for killing the guy who killed.
Maybe he knows his will. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe he left it in the will, right? Or maybe they know where the safe is, and they'll just ransack the house for money, right? They'll sell everything. So he was like, all right, fine. And so he puts the bullet in, spins it, points it to his head, clicks it. And he was like, oh, and then he does it again, spins it, clicks it, spins it, clicks it. Now, I don't know. Did you watch Squid Game season 2?
I did not. I haven't watched any of it.
Okay, I won't say anything, but there is a similar scene in this. Okay. And it does not end the way this one ends. Okay, spoiler.
He spins it 4 times. He spins it 4 times.
Yeah, he spins it 4 times, right? And he's fine. And then the guy was like, all right, Zachary was like, all right. He takes the gun. He was like, I get it. I get the point, right? It's like, all right, we'll set you up in a room, and then we'll figure something out. And then he leaves. And then the head of security guy, Duke, we'll leave it at that, is Duke. He's like, I don't need another psycho working around here. Something to that effect. You're crazy, because he wanted his gun. He wanted to keep the gun. He's like, no. You've already proved your point. You're nuts.
Yeah, and then he says, well, the head of security asks something about, like, why do you continue to do it? He says there's no gunpowder in it. So the head of security takes it. He fires it. I think it's probably on the 4th shot. It fires.
Yeah.
And it goes through something. And again, I think that's another foreshadowing, because he walked over to whatever was leaking.
That didn't look like blood, right? It wasn't thick enough for blood.
It just looked like something else. It just looked like something was leaking. But then he tells him to come over, because now he's proven that it was a real bullet. And now we're all like, oh shit! Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, but you're right. But then even when he finds this out, when Reacher finds out that it was a real bullet, there's no change to his demeanor. He's still straight faced the whole time, and that's the other thing people need to know. If they haven't watched this, all the stuff that's going on, he's not saying with smirks or anything. It's straight faced the entire time for all of this, almost like a robot. And I think they mentioned something like that. I was like, what's the chance of this big linebacker?
Then the head of security escorts him to his room and tells him he's going to be locked in. He's like, what if I don't want to be locked in? He's like, I don't trust you. So he's locked in this room. Not the worst room in the world either.
No. It's a mansion. They're in a mansion. I'm
Yeah,
sure every
yeah,
room in there's like.
yeah. He's not locked in a dungeon or anything.
No. But here was the funny part, and I was trying to figure this out. Like, what? Why did he know the layout already? Because he was opening up the vent, and I guess looking for a place to hide what he was going to take out of his heel, which is a phone.
Possibly.
Right?
Possibly.
That's what it was, right? Because I was like thinking, well, how does he know to open that up? That wouldn't be the first thing I would look at. I would maybe look in a drawer somewhere. Then I thought maybe he was looking to see if there was a bug in the room, like maybe they were gonna.
So he searches everything for bugs. Once he finds that there are none, he reaches underneath his shoe and pulls out a phone that is stored in the sole.
Yep. Makes a call. Yeah. Yep. And then he makes a call and he says, "All right, I'm in." And boom, Reacher. The show starts.
Yeah. And then we get 6 days earlier. I think it was 6 days.
Yeah,
earlier.
it was like 6 days earlier. And then we just see him in downtown Maine or somewhere. This is a busy downtown area. You see a lot of cars and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's just.
Yeah, some busy area. And he walks over to the bus stop. Because he sees a kid there, then he realizes he's about to steal this lady's purse.
Mm-hmm.
But he's looking for someone else is what he's doing.
But here's the weird thing with that is that, and they didn't really, even when we get to that point, they didn't really go into it. Why was he already there? Because remember, when he gets to that point where he's sitting on the bench and he grabs the kid, because he sits between the woman that's on the bench with her child, a 4-year-old, and the purse, and then you see the guy being shady. He sits in between, but he said he's been watching him, and that he noticed that he didn't get on the bus before, and that there was other people that had bags, but they weren't. They were paying attention to their belongings. Not this lady. She's got.
He was waiting for Quinn to come out.
So, but that's the thing. So I guess he had seen him before and realized that this could be the guy that he thinks is dead and is alive. So I guess that's what it was. It's a little detail, but I was trying to figure out what brought him there, because he wasn't waiting for the bus. So
I think he's just scoping everything out, because that's what he does. Do for everything. Yeah.
I mean, nothing tops. What was it? I think it was season 2 with the ATM. Remember, like the person getting robbed by the ATM and goes running into the car, and then he just walks up slow and like RoboCop style just smashes right through, and then pulls a guy through the window. Like, oh man! So first season also had a moment like that, and I think that's just part of the series. We're gonna see one of these moments where Reacher's a good Samaritan pulling some craziness.
And he has to be observant of everything that's going on, and that's the one. And again, going back to the movies with Tom Cruise, he was the same way. Very observant of everything that's going on.
Yep, very observant. Well, that's his thing. So he gives the guy some money. Says, the next person that catches you like this may not be so nice. Yeah. Go and go do something else. And then once the guy walks off, that's when we see, and we'll say his name now because they don't say then, Quinn. So Quinn is who he's scoping out, Reacher. This is who he's looking for. And we see him come out and he gets into a car and then it takes off. It's a nice car. But then Reacher takes down the license plate, calls in a favor over at the 110, the agency that he used to run. Guy picks up, tells him, hey, I need you to run this plates. They have a little back and forth because the guy's a super fan. Who isn't a super fan? Everybody knows.
Officer Powell.
Yep. Officer Powell. He's over here. Wow, Reacher's on the phone. Whoa. I'm so excited. Did you put the dent on the side? I mean, he goes through all the stuff, but says he can't find anything or something's wrong with the system. And can I call you back on this line? Obviously,
the major was gone. The major was gone for 2 weeks.
Major Turner. Yeah. On some Covop mission and stuff like that. I was like, well, if it's Covop, then you really shouldn't be telling anybody. What if this really wasn't Reacher on the phone? You know what I mean? That's the other thing. Like I was watching. I was thinking about it because I just watched The Night Agent. I don't know if you've seen this one.
Oh, I do. I'm watching it. I already watched The Night Agent. I'm watching The Recruit right now.
The Recruit. Okay, so
I watched The Night Agent already.
All right, so then you know that when someone calls, they have to do a code to verify who they are, and they found them in a book. That's what I was saying. It's like if someone says, "Yeah, I'm Reacher." Oh wow, you're the Reacher. Okay, no, it shouldn't go that way. You're calling a government secret agency, right? This is like a private division. You call, say, "Yeah, I'm Reacher. I need help with the." All right, what's the password? What's this? It's something. I don't know. I get.
Even in the movies, because he's off the grid. Like, he's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
really
Oh, yeah.
known. It was
He's
only
not.
the higher ups that knew who he was.
Mm-hmm. But
So
if I remember right, that whole unit was already disbanded at that point too. So
yeah.
remember all the guys left and all the craziness that happened last season. Oh man, such a great season. People, if you have not watched it, very reminiscent of like the A-Team vibe. Everybody had a unique skill set.
Oh yeah, very.
It was, oh man, I might even rewatch it. I love that one. I hope at some point we do get another season with the group back. And I even looked up. I'm honestly, I have not read all the Lee Child novels. I picked them up here and there and stuff, but I'm sure there has to be another one where he reunites with some of those guys. And real quick, I can sprinkle it in here. Frances, I think that's the name of her character. She was in season 1 and 2.
Frances Neagley,
yeah. Is that it?
Maria
Neagley?
Sten.
Yeah, that actress. She already confirmed. Amazon confirmed that she's getting a spinoff. So there is a spinoff in the works. That's been confirmed. So that's going to be interesting.
And even looking at this, I mentioned earlier, it looks like there's already a season 4 pilot. So
yeah, people are watching this show. People are watching this show, and it's funny too when you talk to almost everybody I was talking to, even before when I was thinking of putting this together, and I was like, oh well, I know Lawrence is into this, and I know some other people watch. Like, hey, I'm putting this. I watched 2 or 3 episodes. Why didn't you finish? I don't. No real reason. It's got caught, but I like the show. Everyone agrees they like this show, so I'm not surprised that we're going to get some more seasons and spin-offs.
I think people like to binge watch stuff. I think Prime does it great. I think the way you drop three episodes, you get invested in 3 episodes, and now you can't wait for the next season.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a discussion for another.
Yeah.
When you drop everything in one day, people forget about it.
Oh yeah, out of sight, out of mind.
Unless it's Cobra Kai.
Never gonna forget Cobra Kai. Like a cloth. Yeah, that too. Oh man, Stranger Things with those year breaks. When they come back, these kids are gonna be grown adults. It's like they're not gonna look anything like them.
It's like The Walking Dead. Hey, Carl, it's only been 500 and some days. Why are you
growth
30 years older?
I know. Yeah, right.
Anyway,
yeah. So there we go. So oh man. So then he gets called. So anyway, he goes back to his crappy motel because that's how he rolls.
We're back in time.
We're back in time, right? So everybody knows this is still within that time. So we see that he goes to his motel, which is funny because it's like, what does he do then? I guess because he has no belongings or he doesn't talk to anybody. Does he watch TV? He's got the toothbrush. Yeah, right. Doesn't want gingivitis. So he hears a knock on the door. The guy announces that, he says that, what was he? He's a federal agent. Yeah, federal agent. And Richard doesn't even respond. He goes straight to the bathroom, tries to open the window. That doesn't work. He just kicks the whole thing out, the whole frame.
No, he didn't kick it. He pushed it out. Like,
he pushed
how crappy of a motel are you in? All right.
Pushed it out. And like you said, can't leave the toothbrush behind. Yeah. I would not pick that up, especially one shitty motel. Oh, I did my thing. And it was 2. There's broken glass.
And in my notes, I made sure to write motel, not hotel.
Yeah, it's just a motel.
I didn't want to get it mixed up.
That's it. Exactly. And then he walks out, and then we're introduced to I guess a DA agent Duffy. Yeah, right? Susan Duffy. Susan Duffy. She's another new one that's to the cast for this one. Right? We looked her up. Nothing really resonated with us on stuff that she's worked on, and nothing triggered. So, what was her Cassidy? Sonia Cassidy.
Yeah, so. Very thick. And again, I didn't look up where she's from or anything, but very thick New England accent. So it's like, do you really have it, or are you just one of those people that when you act, you just overly do it?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure that out. I was waiting.
No one else has a New England accent yet.
No, and that's where they're at in this location. And even when we went into the current time, it was also still in New England.
Yeah.
Right. So she now fills in everything that's going on and what they're looking for. And they're trying to figure out what he's looking for. And how they connected is that now this is the part that I wasn't too sure of. I know that they talked to the guy at the 110. And that's how they feel like, what is he looking for? Or did it trigger in the system when he went to run the plates in their system, and they were like, "Who's looking this up?" And then that's when he addressed.
Yeah, they said he pretty much was almost in tears. But I'm sorry, I don't know when a federal agent can walk into into a United States military
Yeah,
facility. They normally don't have any type of jurisdiction. If I'm wrong, please let us know in the comments, because I've never done either.
No. And that's what I'm saying. I was like, I'm just trying to figure out, but I was like, I could look past it because we're trying to get to the story. So I was like, all right. So somehow she intercepted the fact that he was the officer over the 110 was running the plate. He gave up, like you said, Jack Reacher. It's just like that. I mean, come on. If you respect this guy so much and you know everything he's done, at that point you said, go ahead, bloodlet me. I'm not saying anything about Reacher, the creator. I will sacrifice myself. No, he doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. He gives himself up. So
they want to sit by the pool.
Yeah. And he's in by the pool. And so trying to figure this out, it's like saying, well, why were you running the plate? What's going on? There was a lot of back and forth, but the gist of it is that he's looking for Quinn. This is somebody that was part of the government that was doing some other shading stuff, and he thought was dead. He took a bullet to the head and died. But then apparently he did not die. He was still alive, and this is why Reacher was tracking him.
But we haven't found this out yet.
No, I'm just trying to figure, because there was a lot of back and forth during the conversation, because they were doing some little jumps here and there, but they were still within that same time period. And remember, they had the little walking scene, traditional Law and Order style, walking in the street.
So he kind of agreed, because they're like, we need you to go undercover. They explained their situation, and they're like, hey, you know what? This is what we need from you. And he's like, well, let me think about it. I don't know if he says that, but he leaves to go sit in his motel. What's that hotel? Motel. But the one thing that I saw, and I wrote it down, was you see the pool, which is not one you would swim in. But you see the duck, and you hear the duck quack.
He's always feeding the duck. And every scene near that pool, you just see, where's he getting this food from? I don't know.
Yeah, you brought that up to me before we started. And I'm like, I wrote down the first time hearing the duck quack. It was perfect timing. So they come down, I think it's the next day, and they sit down and basically hash everything out. They found the guy that he was looking for. And he washed up on a beach, but was still alive.
Because it was freezing water, and it was able to keep him alive.
Yeah, basically found out Captain America.
Captain America. There you go. Also, the guy did not disclose any information, didn't say his past or any of that stuff. And how this links with Duffy is that the vehicle that he was getting into was for Zachary Beck. So it was a Zachary Beck vehicle, and she's been after him because she believes he's involved in all kinds of shady stuff, because she's a DEA agent. She sent somebody to work undercover, right? With one of her CIs, to do, what was it, to be a receptionist or something like that, to work.
Yeah.
And that person went missing. And that's why she needs Reacher, because, well, now they have a joint interest. You're looking for Quinn. Quinn is related to this case that I'm dealing with. This one, I lost my CI. Maybe you could be my new CI. I'm trying to figure out a way to get in there. But in turn, this helps you solve your mystery of this guy that should be dead, still walking around.
And this conversation is happening in the restaurant. And I only say that because Agent Elliot, she's the only one that orders food.
Yeah.
And Susan makes a point, and he's like, I didn't have breakfast. Like, this guy is so green, right? He's totally wet behind the ears. He doesn't, you can tell. And so far, he's made me laugh.
Yeah. He's spilling the beans, even in that first scene when they were saying, like, who are you looking for? He's like, do you know so-and-so? He dropped the name and this and that. And she's like, what are you doing? You don't deliver that. You let him provide the name. It's like, what is, he's like, oh, yeah, damn. Oh. And I'm wondering, I'm like, oh, this is some comic relief stuff. But then again, this is in front of Reacher. They know Reacher. He's one of them in a way. Not DA, but he's in military. He's of law enforcement. He's not a perp. So it's not like they would be like, oh, we're going to beat him up. And there's no way you can. You can't be hard on him, especially like you said, the guy's green and he's small. Reacher's massive. So even if the guy wanted to play tough guy DEA agent, it's not going to work on Reacher.
Yeah. And then and then they end up back at the hotel. Once again, Elliot comes in with donuts and got the wrong ones.
Got the wrong donuts.
And he said something like, "Well, I'll eat them then," and like we didn't say we wouldn't eat them.
Yeah, yeah.
Something really
I think
weird.
one of them has a health condition, and she takes a donut away from him. It's like, no, you can't be eating this. And then that's where the plan comes together.
Yeah.
Everything that we just saw in the opening segment was all staged. Everything was planned out. They knew about the kid. That's when she fills in the information. Listen, this is the way to get to Zachary. Get to the kid. Yeah. He's in his college. We're gonna set things up. Yes, he has a security guy, but we're gonna handle that. That's where it's gonna be from the pickup truck, pinning him, that whole thing. Like you said, the comic relief dude, he has screwed up other cases in the past. He makes a note of that and says, hey, I want to be the one that tries to kidnap. She's like, this is unbelievable. Yeah. You're too smart.
And we see them, like, when they're planning it, they're walking down the street of where it's going to happen. And they specifically say, hey, around noon, it should be pretty clear. So all those things that I'm like, oh my God, there's no one here. They had already scouted it out. They knew when he was going to get out. Where the bodyguard was going to pick this kid up. They already knew how he got in the back seat, and there's a bodyguard in the front, and there's no other security. And then we see him, like, well, you go in the record store. Where am I getting records from? And that's when Billy, not Billy.
Yeah, Billy.
He pulls out his records. And Reacher once again makes a comment about how bad they are.
Yeah. And this is also when they start talking about, well, what's going to happen when we have like the fake, quote unquote cops, and that's going to be them approaching.
Yeah.
He says, well, I'm going to shoot. I'm going to use real rounds because it looked too obvious if it's all fake. Remember, you can't do fake fights and you can't do anything fake. You got to shoot real rounds. And that's the same thing with Billy when he says, so it was like, well, use rounds. How are you going to know when to stop? Didn't you even think about like what happens if it doesn't and you shoot one? Yeah, I did. And now he's like, yeah, I thought about it. So what?
Like, Richard's not worried if he really does shoot them.
No. And then he takes out his revolver and he takes out a knife and then he carves a little marking right on one of the cylinder holes for the bullet.
So that way he knows where the blanks are.
So that's assuming he's pointing straight at, right? Doing a hand gesture if you're listening. And he's seeing as it's revolving from every shot. So then he can know. That's I don't know. Hey, it's Reacher, right? Super smart. Yeah. It's great. He's got great vision.
And so what this does, when he marks where the blanks will be, this goes back to where he played Russian roulette and why he did it 4 times. Every time he spun it, he knew where it landed by looking at it. And he knew that because he knew where he put the bullet. So when he said, the bullet didn't have gunpowder, he knew that he was lying.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think that was his bullet. Because remember, like we said, he used all.
No, it wasn't.
So then
it wasn't.
Yeah, like you said, yeah, you're right. Correct. Yeah, he knew he was lying because.
So if it landed on one that he didn't want, he would. If it landed on one that he didn't want, he said he was going to shoot the guy shoot the one guy and then take his chances with the other guys.
Yep. So. And you know what? Now that I think about that, it's like maybe the whole reason of even. Providing that information with Duke. Maybe the reason why he did that was to prove that he's not crazy. He just thought he outsmarted them because he was like, it's a fake bullet, And he's like, what? Yeah. It's not a fake bullet. Shoot. So then that way Duke would be like, well, all right, so he's not a loose cannon. He just thinks he's smart and can detect things, but he's not that smart. So maybe that.
I want to go back now and just watch the Russian roulette.
To see if he looks at it.
See if he's looking at where it's marked. Because they don't miss a lot of stuff. They do a really good job of making sure they don't miss stuff. So we got to go back and just watch.
Yeah, we got to watch it.
On the next episode, we'll fill you guys in.
Yeah, we'll fill you in. Yeah. Or you guys also rewatch that and let us know if you see any. Because I know he spun it a few times. They did some cuts, but I feel like there was at least 2 times that they didn't cut. They showed him pull a trigger, still staring straight at Zachary, spin it, and pull it again.
Well, we have to look and see where he marked it. See where he marked the gun. And then go back and watch that scene again.
Yeah. It was definitely an interesting scene. So now we know everything that's planned out, right? Let me see. Then they said, well, what if the rent-a-cops or whatever come over? He's like, well, then I'll try to deal with them without casualties, right? That's the goal. Because they knew eventually that might happen. And even with the getaway car that they switched to, that was also a plant. He says he doesn't know
Yep.
how to hot wire. He said, "Don't worry, we'll just loosen it. Just keep the kid talking, and he won't even pay attention. He should be in shock at this point. He shouldn't even care about how you hot wiring this. He should freak
Like
out."
the kid's like asking, but then again, the kid was already kidnapped. He knows his dad isn't on the up and up. But you're right. If that was me, a 49-year-old who I feel is physically, I can physically defend myself, I would be like, I, I'd be scared out of my mind. I wouldn't
Yeah,
be worried about.
it's just because it's
Oh,
so crazy. It's
he just killed a cop. He killed the kidnapper.
killed the
And he
kidnapper.
saved this guy's life. The last thing I'm going to be is like, how did you learn how to? How do you learn how to
Oh,
break into a car and hot wire?
yeah. And then that's the other thing. The bodyguard is not dead. The plan
Yeah.
was
Oh,
just to take him out. They subdue him, so then that way they can keep him, and make it seem like he died. They were going to plant that information that he was dead. So then that way Zachary would think that the guard was dead.
And I love when they're like, wow, because the one kid, Stephen Elliott, that's the one agent. He's like, well, that's illegal. I'm like, well, you're DEA. You can,
Yeah.
you can plant it. And he's like, oh, basically it's like, listen, this is a bad guy. We're gonna do whatever we can to keep him, so they don't know that he's alive.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, not only that, we also find out that Duffy says, "Hey, all of this is off the books. Remember, she's the boss.
Yeah.
She was upset. There was a case that fell apart because of him, because of the rookie, and
Yeah.
that's why he wants to make up for it." So she said, "This is just something that she needs to do. She needs to bring him down. She feels he's involved in shady stuff."
And this
Obviously.
is where we find out that the cop that he killed was Billy. Wasn't a real bullet.
Nope.
We didn't mention that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the guy, the whole setup, the kidnapper was Elliot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which I didn't get at first because he didn't come off as a scared little kid. And
Exactly. Yeah. And then the whole reason of killing the cop, I guess, makes sense in a way. But then I was like, maybe it's overboard, because once you see all this stuff, I would think the kid's just in shock. But I guess it helps, not for the kid, but for the dad, to sell the story. Because once you kill a cop, then
you're cut off being a hostage. So,
yeah, because maybe it puts him in a situation of where Zachary will think, well, I have him over a barrel right now because he either works for me, or we just send him to the cops and he gets arrested for being a cop killer. So I guess that was the whole incentive of doing it, to sell the story that because he is a drifter. I mean, once they did the fingerprints and they give the whole spiel, and that's why I'm saying, people, if you didn't watch season 1 and 2 and you don't know who he is, they fill this in at that moment, because he gives a rundown of all the stars he had, right? His military service, all the accolades, special force, all that stuff. And he says, all right, so you're just a drifter with all these skills. I can use that. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. Then what? Oh, then I just give you over to the cops. Oh, all right. So then it makes sense of why Zachary would want to hire someone like that, because not only is he a presence because of his size, but because of his skill set.
Yeah, and then right before we jump back to present day, he says, "How am I going to keep in contact with you?" And she goes, "Well, I think I got the right size." She hands him the boots and shows the whole heel comes out. So they're the phone, and it's a tiny phone. It's probably the size of this little thing right here. You're not getting internet. It has 14 days. 14 days of
14-day battery life. That is amazing. I was like, oh, I want this phone.
And the whole heel comes out. So when I first saw it, it looked like it was just on the bottom, but that actually made a lot more sense how they had it. So, and then we skip back to present day, and now he's trying to get out of the room.
And this is the one part that I was like, all right, there's a lot of the stuff, of course, it's an action show, it's for fun and stuff, but man, he is a massive guy, and he sneaks out and he climbs through the roof.
Yeah, the one thing you had mentioned is that there's no one else.
Guard. No one watch him. If they didn't trust him and they locked him in there, you would think they would have somebody guarding the door at the corner or something.
But you would think. But hey, you know what? Go back to another movie, Commando. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah. He's a massive. He's running around a compound and no one can see him. So
yeah.
But he gets out and he's on the roof. he obviously almost falls out, and his whole goal right now is he's looking for this girl.
Yep, yep.
He's
And
trying to
he
see if she's still alive.
and he goes back to that barn area where he was in, where the bullet was shot, and that's where the whole Russian roulette thing. And he goes to investigate the substance that was on the ground. He starts looking around, and then that's when he finds out of the hidden little area. And then at this point, he gets a phone call from Duffy. It's like, "Did you find anything? And did you find my CI?" And it's like, "I didn't find the CI, but she was definitely here." And you see that he picks up one of her big hoopy earrings because Duffy showed him a picture, and he's like, "Oh, she likes to wear these big hoopy earrings." Well,
because when he went down to the cellar, he sees that there's food there, so it obviously wasn't old. And then he finds the hoop earrings, and like you said, when she showed him, because she showed him, who she was, and he's like, "Why are you showing me this? So you know what she looks like. She likes to wear big hoop earrings." So.
Right. And then that was it. And then it ended. It was like, okay, cool. All right. So it got a cliffhanger. Now we're trying to figure things out. But a lot happened. This is what I love about this show, is that it doesn't wait. Some shows, they'll build up to an action, and usually it's like the mid-season or the final episode, right? And then like explosions and all this stuff.
Yeah.
No, this is like pretty much the routine for every episode. There's always going to be some chaos, some craziness, some fight scene or something, a shootout in every episode. And it's fantastic. And I love it.
And I think most good shows, right from the beginning, that first episode, they set up what's going to happen throughout throughout the season. And I think so far, I mean, just kind of foreshadowing and knowing what, how the other episodes or how the other seasons went, it looks like that's what they're doing. They're giving you little trinkets that, hey, keep looking for this stuff, because, it's going to come back to the reason why, what's his face, Chapman Duke eats outside by himself.
Well, maybe that was it. Maybe he wasn't eating. Maybe that food was for the CI. When he went walking out, he wasn't going out to eat for himself. He was going out to bring food.
And full disclosure, we have not watched the other episode, so we have
no, exactly. That's it.
We have no idea. So we're as clueless as you guys are, unless if you watched.
Yeah, then you already know ahead of us. And no spoilers. No spoilers. You, Jimmy, whoever you are, I know there's always somebody like, don't do it. Don't do it. So that way, and that's the main reason why we do this, is because we don't want episode 2 and 3 to bleed into our discussion, because then that's how spoilers happen.
No one really wants to be spoiled.
No one wants to be spoiled. Something like that.
Especially a TV show.
There we go.
Movies, I understand why people need to be spoiled. They need to know.
No.
And I usually don't care about spoilers, but every now and then I've been spoiled. I was spoiled with the last Avengers movie, where Captain America gets Thor's hammer, and I regret it. And I'm sorry.
I'm sure somebody was like, "I'm watching it now. I just got Disney Plus."
If you haven't watched Endgame, then that's on you. All right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on now.
I had heard what happened. I still kind of get chills when I see it, because it's awesome. But I really wish I would not have been spoiled. That's one of those things I wish I wouldn't have. So we don't want to spoil anything. We want you guys to make sure you're watching it, and then you're coming over here and watching this.
Yeah.
We want to hear what you have to say.
We want
to hear in the comments. Like, you tell us, maybe you saw something we didn't. Maybe we said something, you're like, hey, this is the reason why they're doing it. We want to see it, and we're going to address it on the next episode.
Yep. And just a quick rundown. What do we know? Zachary Beck is doing some more shady stuff, not just selling rugs. Right?
Yeah. I think we kind of skipped over that there was a connection between Quinn and Zachary Beck. There's like a huge connection.
They're working somehow. Maybe Quinn is still part of some shady operation, and he's definitely doing business with Zachary. So that's the main story, at least for Reacher, to figure that out. Now the CI, that's like the side story of this whole thing. What happened to her?
Yep.
But the truth, if she's dead, then she's dead. I mean, the main thing is we need to find out what's going on with Quinn and how he was able to survive and all the other things that he's doing, because he just went right back into doing some shady business, and how that connects with Zachary. So it's going to be interesting. Very interesting.
I will say this. They said that she's 20 years old, and that puts her about the exact same age as the son. Well, I wonder if maybe,
maybe. Well, they also said she was a recovering drug addict, right?
Yeah.
Remember, that was the other thing. And Because one of the things that Reacher said was, why don't you just call the police? You already know where she was working. It was like, well, they said that she never showed up. And also the cops aren't going to care about someone that has a prior history of going on drug binges and stuff. They'll be like, oh, she's in a crack house somewhere. They're not going to look into it. So they try to cover their bases with the story.
But she's your CI. Like, you walked into a military establishment and you were able to get them to give up Reacher. I think you're getting to the police and be like, hey, you need to go do some work on this.
Oh, but I mean, it's all these little connecting lines. And the connecting line is she's doing this on a down low. Yes, she's a supervisor of a little team, but she says she doesn't have much supervision, which means she does have a big boss. I don't know what job she's supposed to be on or working on, but this is something on her own. So I guess she's also trying not to get as many people outside of her bubble involved, because then that would go up the food chain and she could probably get in trouble. Because she said that was the other thing. The people in Maine usually don't want to go after a big wealthy person in their community. And Zachary Beck is that guy. From what they know, the townspeople, he's on the up and up. He's not a shady guy. He's the rich guy who lives in a mansion near the water.
That sells rugs.
That sells rugs. Yeah. He's making a killing selling to the Hilton and stuff. Oh, man. They need those rugs. All right, people. Thank you again for tuning in, whether it's on YouTube or on Spotify. Thanks for commenting or subscribing or just giving us a thumbs up that you appreciate Reacher. You see what we're doing here, okay? We're talking. We're two guys who just like this show and just want to talk about it and have a good time. And if you're into that, then this is your spot. That's it. So we look forward to seeing you for the next episode. And we're going to drop those just like we did this one, individual. They're all separate. So don't worry about, I didn't see 3 because they dropped all 3 at the same time. They're all going to be broken up. So it'll be fine.
And each episode is going to come out the day that the show comes out.
Yep, the day that comes out. So once it's done, once you finish watching it, a few minutes after, we'll give it some time, and then poof, you'll see it pop up on your feed. So
you'll have 7 days after the first 3 come out to deal with us, get sick of watching us, and then know you have to come back after you watch that 4th episode.
And then just, oh man, I'm just so excited just to see what other craziness Reacher can do.
I am too. And again, each one, it's just a fun series. It's just a fun show.
You know that fight with Paulie is going to be epic. You know it's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
It's going to happen. We're going to.
There's going to be a fight with the big, huge 7'2" guy.
Because that's going to be the one time we see him pick up Reacher like a regular guy and just like start slamming him or doing whatever. It should be interesting.
Do you know how hard it is to get a person that big that can actually act? Sure, you can find wrestlers, but most of them can't really act.
Not on that, they think to a certain extent. Like that was the thing. I mean, I don't want to go on a tangent, but I mean Batista, right? Okay, they were like, oh, he did Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, but he was shooting out funny one-liners. Yes. He wasn't really delivering lines.
He was standing very still to be invisible.
And that was it. Though. But that's a whole other thing. So again, thanks again, everybody. We're gonna be back for episode 2, and we'll see you then. All right.
Take care.